I thought David was just adding wine to my glass. A normal Tuesday evening ritual. Fresh from the shower, towel drying my hair, I glanced into the kitchen and froze. He didn't see me watching. David leaned over my dinner plate, a tiny vial in his palm. No bigger than his thumb, but the way he tapped it, carefully, deliberately, made my blood run cold. A few drops fell into my pasta. He stirred it casually like seasoning. The front door burst open. Sarah, his sister, walked in. David, startled, dropped the spoon, spun around too quickly and hit the counter edge. Sarah's eyes moved from his hand to my plate to his face. "Hey," he said, grinning too wide. "Didn't expect you tonight." She blinked. "I texted earlier. You said tonight worked." "Right, of course, caught me cooking." He laughed nervously. I entered the kitchen as if nothing happened. "Smells wonderful," I said. My voice stayed steady, but my hands were ice cold. "Let's eat," I announced, sitting down with a smile at both of them. Sarah hesitated. "You feeling all right?" "Perfect," I replied. "Starving, actually." We sat for dinner. David served my plate first. I stared at it a beat too long, then pushed the food around with my fork without taking a bite. He kept glancing over. Once, twice, 3 times. Sarah didn't touch her food either. She just watched. After dinner, David went upstairs claiming a headache. Sarah and I remained in the kitchen. She stayed quiet initially, just looking at me. I looked back. Finally, she whispered, "Did you see what I saw?" I nodded once. That night after Sarah left, I entered David's study. I knew where he hid the spare keys. I opened his always locked drawer and searched through everything. What I discovered inside changed everything. Life with David seemed perfect. At least that's what I told everyone when we first met. He was charming without trying too hard. He noticed things, remembered my favorite tea, noticed new earrings, opened doors without fanfare. It felt like someone had actually chosen me, really chosen me. He proposed after 9 months. I said yes before he finished asking. Our wedding was small but beautiful. He cried during vows, held my hands like they were made of glass. I felt safe, lucky. Everyone said I was glowing. Initially, he brought roses every other week for no reason. He'd kiss my forehead while I cooked or surprise me with hugs from behind. "Can't believe you're mine," he'd whisper. We had traditions. Friday sushi nights, Sunday crosswords, evening neighborhood walks. We even discussed baby names during long drives. But small things felt off. It started with his study, always locked. He claimed it was work-related. As a pharmaceutical researcher, some projects were confidential. I believed him. I wanted to believe him. Then came the phone calls. Always after midnight, he'd step onto the balcony and whisper into the darkness. When I asked, he'd brush me off. "Work emergency, just helping a friend through something." He made me feel ridiculous for asking, "Are you really getting jealous of my phone now?" Sometimes I'd wake to find him downstairs in the dark, staring at his laptop or just sitting motionless. If I mentioned anything, the locked door, late nights, his tension when I brought up Sarah, he'd flip it on me. "You're imagining things," he'd say gently. "I think you're stressed. Maybe talk to someone." It sounded like concern, but it was control. Still, I convinced myself it was nothing, that all marriages have phases, that I was being paranoid, insecure, tired. I didn't want to ruin something that looked perfect from outside. But that night I saw the vial. Watching him stir something into my food like salt, everything clicked. It wasn't in my head. I wouldn't keep pretending. The first text came 2 days after dinner. 3 words. "Be careful with him." No context, no follow-up. I stared at my phone for almost a minute before replying, "What do you mean?" She didn't answer. The next day I asked Sarah to meet for coffee. She agreed but looked nervous when we sat down. Not jumpy, more like she was carrying something heavy and didn't know how to set it down without breaking everything. We made small talk first. She sipped her latte like she was stalling. Then she looked at me. "Has he ever scared you?" I didn't answer immediately. She glanced down. "When we were kids, we had this golden retriever, Buddy. Sweetest dog ever." I nodded, unsure where this was heading. One day, Buddy got really sick, vomiting, shaking. Mom rushed him to the vet. They said it looked like accidental poisoning. Thought he ate something outside. Her hands trembled now. I heard David talking on the phone that night. He was 13. He said, "It worked." Then he laughed. Said something like, "He twitched exactly like I expected." I didn't understand then. I thought he was joking. I stopped breathing. She swallowed hard. But now I keep thinking about it, about how he acts, treats people. Like sometimes he's performing humanity, knows the lines but not the meaning. My voice barely emerged. "Why didn't you say anything before?" She looked up, guilt sharp in her eyes. "Because I didn't want to believe it. He's my brother." We sat in silence. "I thought maybe I imagined it. Maybe remembered wrong," she whispered. "But after what happened the other night," I nodded. "You didn't imagine it." Her voice dropped lower. "I think this isn't his first time. I think he's been practicing, testing." The table between us felt too small for how distant I suddenly felt from everything I thought I knew. She reached across, took my hand. "I'm sorry, I should have warned you sooner." I squeezed her hand. "We're not too late." But part of me wasn't sure. The lock clicked open easier than expected. David always kept that door shut tight. Said it was just work stuff. Nothing interesting. Today, while David was at work, I stood before it with the small tool set Sarah gave me. She said it came from a friend who used to be a locksmith. I didn't ask details. My hands shook, but my heart felt calm, cold, like it already knew what I'd find. The study was small, quiet, almost too clean. Desk perfectly arranged. Shelves lined with books. Everything in its place, but the neatness felt fake, like a hotel room before someone moves in, or after someone's covering something up. I started with drawers. The top held pens, sticky notes, nothing strange. The second had research files, medical terms I didn't understand. The third drawer stuck when I pulled it. That's where I found them. Small vials tucked in a black pouch, each labeled in neat handwritten Latin. I didn't know what they were, but one label said aconitum. I Googled it quickly. Wolfsbane, a deadly poison. 6 other vials, all the same. Clear or slightly yellow, thick liquid. My skin crawled just looking at them. Taped to the drawer's inside panel was a folded note. I opened it carefully, hands starting to sweat. "It has to look like natural causes, weeks, not days. Make sure digestion slows absorption. Start with small doses." I sat back, heart pounding, ears ringing. This wasn't some twisted experiment. This was a plan, detailed, calm, thought through. The worst part, no name, no target, just steps. I opened the bookshelf next. Behind thick medical texts, I found a burner phone. Old, cheap, no case. I turned it on. Only a few texts. One stood out. "She won't see it coming. By the time they realize, it'll be too late." No name, just a number. I sank to the floor. Was it about me? Was this always about me? I stared at the vials again, then the note. I couldn't feel anything for several seconds. Just strange, numb emptiness. Like when you drop something valuable and know it's broken before it hits the floor. I packed everything back exactly as I found it, then locked the study behind me. He'd never know I was there. Not yet. I walked into the insurance office pretending everything was normal. I'd called earlier to review my policy, a cautious wife planning ahead. I didn't tell Sarah. I needed to see it myself, hear it from someone official. Part of me still hoped I was wrong. The agent smiled too much, offered water, and pulled up my file. "Let's see. You and David Thompson, correct?" I nodded. My hands rested still in my lap, but I could feel my pulse in my neck. He read aloud. "You've had this policy over 2 years, but there was a recent update. Looks like your husband came in about a month ago." I forced my voice casual. "Oh, I didn't know that." "Nothing unusual," he said, scrolling. He added a clause for accidental death, bumped the payout to $2 million, and listed himself as co-beneficiary. I blinked. Co-beneficiary? Yes. In the event of your death, the money goes directly to him unless other instructions are left. I stared. "And if I die within, say, the next few months?" He glanced down again. "If it's within 6 months from the policy change and determined to be natural causes, yes, it would go through. Accidental death clause would apply." I smiled politely, nodded, pretended it all made sense. But inside, everything twisted. 2 million. If I died now, he'd get $2 million. And he'd set this up a month ago. Weeks before I saw the vial. Weeks before I started noticing the wine. The pushes to eat more, drink more. I walked out and sat in my car for 10 full minutes before I could move. My hands felt cold on the steering wheel. Suddenly, all the sweet gestures, wine nights, new dinners, quiet talks about our future, felt different, calculated. He wasn't trying to build a life with me. He was setting the stage for my death. I waited until dinner, made his favorite, garlic butter steak, roasted potatoes, even open wine. I played the role he expected, calm, smiling, predictable. The wife he thought he could keep quiet with charm and routine. He sat across from me, complimented the food, joked about a coworker, asked if I'd seen his favorite socks. It was all so normal it made me sick. Halfway through the meal, I set my fork down and looked at him. "David," I said, "do you ever think we're not really who we pretend to be?" He glanced up. "That's kinda deep for a Thursday." "I mean it. Like, have you ever done something and hoped no one would find out?" He paused mid-chew, smiled slowly. "Where's this coming from?" I shrugged. "Just a question. You okay?" There it was. I leaned back, looked him in the eye. "I think you've been hiding things from me." His smile didn't fade, but his eyes changed. Slightly tighter, sharper. "Like what?" "I don't know. You tell me." He wiped his mouth with his napkin. Calm, collected. "You've been acting strange lately. First the questions, now this." He leaned forward slightly. "Have you been sleeping well?" I didn't answer. "You've always been a little anxious, but lately it's like you're spiraling." His tone was soft, like he was concerned, like he cared. "You've been forgetful, paranoid." I could feel the gaslight flickering between us. "I'm not paranoid." He reached across the table, touched my hand. "Babe, I think it might be time to talk to someone, a therapist, just to help you sort through things. You've been under stress, right?" I didn't move. His thumb brushed over my knuckles. "I'm not judging. I just want you to be okay." I nodded, eyes lowered. "Okay. Maybe you're right." But I'd already hit record before dinner started. My phone was in the drawer behind me, screen off, mic live. I caught every word, the soft manipulation, the fake concern, the subtle shifts in tone. He didn't know that part. After dinner, he kissed my forehead, told me he'd clean up. "You go rest," he said. "You've had a long week." I walked upstairs and shut the bedroom door. I didn't sleep. I listened to that recording 5 times. Memorized every word, every pause, every lie that sounded like love. Now I had proof. He wanted me to think I was crazy, but I wasn't. Sarah listened to the recording with both hands pressed against her mouth. She didn't speak at first, just stared at the table. David's voice playing between us. That calm, careful tone. The way he acted like I was losing my mind. When it ended, she looked at me. Her face was pale. "He's done this before," she said quietly. "Not like this. Not with poison. But the manipulation. The lies." I leaned forward. "I need you to be honest with me, Sarah. Everything." She hesitated, then nodded slowly. "There's something I never told anyone. Not even Mom." She took a shaky breath. "Our dad died when we were teenagers. Everyone said it was a heart attack. Sudden, unexpected. But he and David had been fighting a lot. Bad fights. Dad was threatening to cut him off financially. Said he needed structure, discipline." Her voice dropped. "One night I heard them yelling. I didn't catch all of it. Just Dad saying something like, 'You think I don't see what you're becoming?' And David told him, 'Maybe you shouldn't have taught me how to lie.'" She paused. The next morning, Dad was dead in his chair, coffee cup still in his hand. My chest tightened. "Do you think he—" "I don't know. I didn't want to think so. He was my brother. I kept telling myself it was coincidence, that I imagined the tone, the look in his eyes that night." Her voice cracked. "But now I can't ignore it anymore. Maybe I've been lying to myself this whole time." I reached across the table, grabbed her hand. "Then help me stop him. Help me end this." She looked at me for a long time, then finally nodded. Okay, we do this together. No more secrets. We made a plan that night. No cops yet. Not until we had something solid. Not until we could catch him in the act. She said she had a friend who could help, someone with legal ties. We'd need cameras, witnesses, a setting we could control. If David was going to act again, we'd be ready. This time we'd see it coming. We planned dinner for Friday. David didn't suspect anything. I told him Sarah wanted to come over with a friend. Just a casual night. Nothing big. She's been worried about me, I said. Thinks I need some fun. I even smiled when I said it, like I was grateful. He offered to cook. Of course he did. That morning, Sarah and her friend, a quiet, solid man named Reed, came by early. He was an off-duty cop, someone she trusted completely. He brought 2 small cameras and a recording device. No badge, no uniform. Just a calm voice and sharp eyes. We set everything up while David was running errands. A tiny mic under the dining table. 1 camera behind the bookshelf. Another tucked in a kitchen vase. Reed would pose as Sarah's co-worker. Friendly, curious, just passing through. I dressed normally. Nothing dramatic. Nothing that would make David suspicious. When he got home, he kissed my cheek and started prepping in the kitchen like any other night. "Smells amazing," I said, watching him stir the sauce. He smiled, poured 2 glasses of wine, one for me, one for himself, and handed mine over first, like always. The moment his back turned, Sarah caught my eye from across the room. A slow, tight nod. She'd seen it. So had Reed. We all sat down, laughed, ate, chatted about nothing. David was charming as usual. Told Reed he worked in pharmaceutical research. "Nothing exciting," he joked. "Just chemicals and spreadsheets." I didn't drink the wine. Neither did Sarah. Reed raised his glass, gave a polite sip, then pushed it aside. Halfway through dinner, David got up for dessert. I stood with him. As he passed the kitchen counter, he reached for my glass like he was going to top it off. Then from his pocket, he pulled out something small. A vial. Tiny, clear, familiar. That's when Reed stood up. "Put it down," he said. David froze. His eyes darted towards Sarah, then me, then Reed. "What the hell is this?" Michael laughed. "Are you serious?" "Put it down," Reed said again. "We've seen everything. There are cameras, audio. You're not walking away from this." For the first time, David looked afraid. Really afraid. He dropped the vial. It hit the tile and shattered. David backed away from the counter like a cornered animal. His voice rose, sharp and fake laughing. Okay. This is a joke, right? A prank or something? Seriously, what the hell is going on?" Reed didn't flinch. "Sit down, David." David's eyes flicked to Sarah. "You set me up. Are you kidding me right now? This is your idea?" Sarah didn't say a word. She just reached into her bag and pulled out a small recorder. Click play. The room filled with his voice. "You've been forgetful, paranoid, maybe talk to someone." Then the silence that followed, the chill that settled as everyone stared at him, watching it all unravel. He went pale. His hands trembled at his sides, then curled into fists. "You're all insane," he hissed. "You've been poisoning her against me. You've always hated me, Sarah, since we were kids." Sarah's voice was low but steady. "No, I loved you. That's why I stayed quiet too long." Reed stepped forward and pulled handcuffs from his coat pocket. "David Thompson, you're under arrest for attempted murder. You have the right to remain silent." David exploded. He lunged toward Sarah. "You traitor! You're my sister!" Reed moved fast, pinned him against the wall, one arm twisted behind his back. I stood frozen as David writhed and spat curses, still screaming her name like she owed him something. Like being his sister meant covering for him forever, even now. Sarah didn't move. She didn't look away. She just watched him as the cuffs clicked shut. David turned his head to me, eyes wild. "And you? You think this makes you safe? You think this is over?" I didn't answer. I didn't need to. Reed pulled him toward the door. "I'll see you both in hell," he shouted. We let the door close behind him. Sarah exhaled long and shaky. "I didn't think it would happen like that." I nodded slowly. My knees felt weak, but I stayed standing. "It's happening," I said, and for the first time in weeks I believed it. The trial started 6 weeks later. David didn't try to deny much. The evidence was everywhere. Audio recordings, the vial, insurance documents, hidden camera footage from that night. It all painted a clear picture. This wasn't a moment of rage. It was a plan, quiet, careful, to kill me and walk away a rich widower. The case made headlines in our town. Pharmaceutical researcher accused of poison plot against wife. Some people from his job showed up the first day. Most didn't come back. Even his lawyer looked uncomfortable reading the details out loud in court. He pled guilty halfway through proceedings. Not because he felt bad, but because the DA offered a deal. Reduced sentence, no jury trial, less time in exchange for full cooperation. He took it. When I testified, my voice didn't shake. I told him what I saw, what I heard, how I felt. I explained the fear, the gaslighting, the moment I realized the man I married was planning to kill me. Then Sarah took the stand. She didn't look at David once. She told the story of their childhood, the warning signs, the things she brushed off for years. She cried when she talked about their father and how she should have seen it back then. David stared straight ahead through all of it, cold, distant, like we were strangers on a bus. The judge called him a danger to society, sentenced him to 15 years, maybe less with good behavior, but enough time that he wouldn't touch my life again for a long while. After court, Sarah and I walked outside together. It was cloudy, the kind of gray sky that makes everything look flat. I didn't feel relief. Not exactly. Just space. Quiet. Like my body had been holding its breath too long and was finally letting go. "You're free now," Sarah said gently. I nodded. Almost. The divorce went through soon after. Fast, clean, final. I moved out of the house, left the furniture, the kitchen, the memories. Got a small place with big windows. I started working again.